Good evening, everyone. Welcome here. We are in Imola, we are in Italy, we are in Le Mans Ultimate, and we are here for tonight's race. This is going to be a wonderful second race of the half season in Le Mans Ultimate. Obviously, this is a bit of a test session, test season rather than a test session. But anyway, I'm Cristiano Romano, and for tonight and for the next hour and a half or so, I'll be your voice for the race that it's in our gates. As I said, we are in Imola, and I'm quite proud to say it, because we are in Emilia Romagna. We are in the beautiful track of Imola, Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Ferrari, 4.9 kilometers long, located in the town of Imola, which is about 40 kilometers east of Bologna. A train gets you there quite easily if it is overcrowded for the race. But the first very race was held here in 1953. Obviously, the racetrack is named after Enzo and his son, Alfredo Dino Ferrari. And the track was born as a motorcycle racing circuit, but with the years it became more and more a track that also held four wheels racing. We've got Formula 1 until this very year. Unfortunately, there is not going to be a next year in Formula 1 for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. There was the San Marino Grand Prix, which took place from 1981 to 2006. But at the moment, there is obviously the WEC, the 6 hours of WEC, which also next year technically, yes, because it's 2026. But in about 4 months' time, there is going to be another race there, and it is effectively the 6 hours of Imola, in which I will also be present very likely, without obviously forgetting the fact that also LMS gets there. There is the 4 hours of Imola, and the round is an effective addition to the calendar since 2022, with a skip in 2023, but also a comeback in 2024 and 2025. The 4 hours of Imola, which is effectively a light edition of the WEC round, it is also multi-class. It costs way less, and it gives you also the same multi-class racing that you so much aspire to watch. The track being used from the 4 wheels is... I need to gain the gain a bit, otherwise I can't hear myself. As I was saying, the track being used from the vehicles, rather than the motorcycles, is the one without with the chicane on the main straight. The chicane is used in Superbike, but also was used back in the days in Formula 1 for a brief period of time, when it was still 22 corners. Now it is only 19 with turn 1, which is effectively directly after the very main start finish line. I don't think I can read that article, but yeah, definitely relatable. It was a bit unexpected, but okay, it's coming out of my rails, I'll be honest. For today, this is going to be GT3 and Ivercar race, and the standings. Obviously, the standings are just the round 1 results, so let's go directly into the results. And here we are. This is not the correct one. This is the correct one. These are the GT3 results from... I said these are the... Why isn't it working? It was working. Okay, now it works. These are the results from last race, 1 hour and 42 minutes, so effectively 100 minutes, with David Nazgidashvili winning the race in the Ford Mustang GT3 with Mark Sidoruk and Axel Ramounet completing the podium. Eder and Bessier effectively completing your top 5. As you can see, a good chunk of Lexus, which, as you may have noticed, Lexus finally can go into retirement. Not directly next year, but finally Toyota unveiled the GTGR, which is the effective heir to the GT3 class to the Lexus, which after literally 10 years finally can go into retirement. But it will still be used this year, obviously next year. Well, this year in Le Mans Ultimate, but also next year. I don't think that car will be on track in 2026, at least in WEC. I doubt in GT World Challenge there could be some sightings in more national series. And then the hypercar class, these are the results from Spa, which is taking a bit. Come on, OBS, you can do it. Or maybe not. Can you please? Maybe another refresh works. I mean, the link is correct and it was working up until like 5 minutes ago, so as always, OBS is one of the most beautiful apps. At least it's free. Oh, I saw something. There it is. I was searching for another link. Kobe-chan with Arida Erkan and Dario Iemulo effectively completing the podium with Valkyrie, BMW and Cadillac podium. Paul Noski and Andre Hipov completing your top 5. These are the results. With only 4 seconds gapping the Turkish driver and the driver from Hong Kong. 1,000 points for the winner, 983 for the second place holder, and 966 for the bronze medal driver. And you're probably wondering why are we taking track of the points? Well, this is the schedule, but I wanted to say this. These are the prices for the podium in each class. There is a 500 euros voucher for Trustmasters for whoever arrives in first. Second place goes home with a Legend Gaming chair from Noble Chairs, the silver edition of it. And third place holder, an immersion win bundle from Nitro Concepts. So this is for each class. And this is the calendar. You had a glimpse earlier. We started with Spa. We are now in Imola. Next week, Portimao. I had to say it. Portimao or Circuito do Algarve. The round 4 is also held in Italy with the Monza round. Then we've got Silverstone and Le Mans, which is a 2-hour race on the 6th of January 2026, effectively being the first race of the year. It's going to be in Le Mans Ultimate. But now I think that we've got qualifying on. Yes, it is. Qualifying is on, and please tell me it works. Okay, it works. This is the layout, a bit different from the usual that you can see in Assetto Corsa Competizione or in Assetto Corsa with the MX-5 Cup. And as you can see, a couple of things may change. I'll be completely honest. Being sort of trial season. Speaking of which, I just noticed that there is a mistake in the layout. Let me just correct it quickly. Can I have you here? I need you. No. Wait. And probably you too. Okay, feel correct. Is it? Probably not. Unless I have to start the layout, which it's a bit too late at this point. Mistakes may happen in the layout. As I said, it is the very first race in which also everything takes place. I did some tests, but not with too many drivers, I will be honest, mainly because I couldn't find any open lobby with a lot of people. For the night, as I said, hypercars and GT3. We've got Axel Ramone, but at the same time, I think the audio is a bit too low. Let me just quickly adjust it. Sound. Let's put you at 80%, 90%. 100. Let's go 100. Okay. And now there is more noise. Okay. It should be correct, but obviously the sound has to be corrected in an effective trial. Axel Ramone will be our first driver in in the Italian racetrack for Hoplite. And the number 72 there. Unfortunately, he has the number 0 in the standings. Not sure why. But as I said, not all of the things work. Although the hypercar number 23, so Harry Gamble, already has a lap, a purple lap obviously, being the first lap set. Gamble for now in first, 29.6, 29.8 follows behind. That's Kobe-chan in the Valkyrie. And then we got Paul Nowski, the driver in the second Valkyrie, is currently in third. Very close to Chan. Both of them set at 29.8, but narrowly behind he sits. Also in GT3, the first times are being set with Kalkov, that was in first up until now, as Valentin Kalkov gets overtaken by Fabrice Sassavesny. The car number 17 that now stays in first place, with Valkov behind, Naskitashvili in third, Console fourth, and Arbit in fifth place. Clement Arbit here in number 91. Probably I have to correct a thing, which I'm just noticing. Let me see if I can do it right now. Don't think I can change it. Let me try. It works. Fair enough. Not sure if it is updated on the spot. Oh, yes, it is. So here, car number 25, which is the 91. So probably something has to be corrected there. Certainly still leading the session in GT3. As you can see here, the ENG GT3, which is also rumored to maybe go into retirement into 2026. But we will see. This is number 127, so I think the numbers are not properly linked. We'll have to understand why later on. Kalkov set 43.4, new fast lap in GT3, and successfully doesn't really improve. He remains quite behind, 20th place overall, so he is in 7th place at the moment, with Kalkov back in the pits. Paul Nowski now set the purple lap in hypercar class in the Aston Martin Valkyrie. The fastest lap of 121.317. About to cross the line another time. Can he improve even more? Warner is now in second, just barely behind. And it's not going to be an improvement. With Nowski that remains in first. Well, that was obvious. He doesn't extend the gap. Warner is now behind, 29.5 at the line. The onboard doesn't work, fantastic. And the number also, I think, a couple of things are not really working. Probably because the number on the car is different from the one on the server. So at this point I will just take it out from the next time onwards. The Falcon livery here, Jonas Warner, as Chan goes a bit quicker. The other Valkyrie, the noise is phenomenal. Chan here, third place at the moment, with the 29.6. Now going into second chicane. And then into Tosa, to number 7. Uphill a tiny bit to get into 8, and then Piratella. This is a beautiful hill and a beautiful spot from which you can follow the race. It's a downhill again to get into Acque Minerali. Turn 11 and 12. And then 13, that's a bit off track. Slightly on the gravel. Then Variante Alta. 14 and 15. And downhill once again to get into the final 2 corners of the racetrack into Rivazza. 17 and 18. Heavy braking here. 2 left-handers. Although here Valkyrie was a bit off the marks. That's going to be another lap for Kobe-chan. The question is, will he improve? He is a 10th behind Warner. And effectively, he goes over the line to remain in 3rd place. Valko for now still in the pits. We've got 5 minutes to go. Or more than likely, Valkov could remain at the top of the standings. In the meantime, I think I have to also... Let me try something, because maybe it's a good thing to do it now. Can I just... Okay, I'm very scared from what I'm going to do. Let's see if it worked. Yeah, okay, it's definitely better. Maybe a bit too much. So I thought it was okay. Or maybe a tiny bit, yeah, okay, this is way better. We'll also do the same for the race afterwards. Okay. And so back into here. Everything should work again. The majority of the drivers in the pits at the moment. We've got only one in 2nd place going for a lap. And then into the gravel. So that was quite quick for him. And Fischer in the Porsche 963, which ironically this is not part of the WEC program anymore, with the Porsche factory effectively cutting ties with the World Endurance Championship, although there was an attempt from Penske with a joint collaboration with Proton that effectively Porsche itself said that they simply didn't allow it. There was a plan, there was a chance, but Porsche in the end never gave the approval, and so the only way to see 963 in the endurance world for now remains IMSA, in which it's going to be the Penske program and the GTC Miller program, the Yellow Banana that I'm still surprised that still lives in the program, to be honest. Unfortunately, because I think Proton could have had some results, but the help from the factory wasn't really there, especially in the last year with the car number 99 that was always on the backyard of the field, following from far away. But don't fret, because next year is going to be Genesis, and from 27 onwards it's going to be Ford, and then McLaren in 28, I think. I can't remember exactly who is where and when in the 2 series. I know for sure that Genesis with the Magma lineup is going to set foot in WEC in 27. As Fischer goes back in the pits to the Campo. Speaking of Proton, here he is in the car number 99. We've got 31 total cars for the evening. 13 are in the hypercar class, and the remaining 18 are in the GT3 category, which for now is quite dominated by Lexus. All of the GT3s are staying in the pits, and with 1 minute to go, there isn't much that they can do. I think that was a bit too loud. Should probably get it a bit lower. Obviously the graphic is still a work in progress. I tried to add a couple of bits as the camp also goes back into the pits. A couple of edits here and there compared to what John set last week. Obviously one thing is testing and the other is effectively putting into a real environment. But for now I think it's quite a good package. Obviously any addition, any suggestion is appreciated. In the tower you can also see the car that is being highlighted at the moment with the green and blue overlay, no overlay, rather background in the overlay, and also that could change, but for now I think I will keep it. Just Chan and Gamble on track for now. 29.1 was the fastest lap for Noski, and it was 43.4 for Valentin Kalkov. The rules for tonight's race is twice the consumption for both fuel and well, not the consumption, but rather how quick the time goes. It is 2 times, and fuel is also 2 times. The tires are on the realistic setting, and this will start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon to then end on effectively 7 o'clock. So we are going to have a beautiful sunset on track, and qualifying is effectively over. So Paul Noski, Jonas Wanner, Kobe Chan with Herring Gambal, and Marco Bischoff completing your top 5. Valentin Kalkov, Clemens Nitzel, David Nashkindashvili, and Clement Arboy with Marine Bessier completing the top 5 in GT3. Now in short time we will start with the race. As I said, 60 minutes race with an effective 2 times speed on the clock. So the race will start at 7, but we'll end at we'll start at 5, but we'll end at 7 o'clock. And in short time we'll start with the race. As you can see, quite a compacted pack. We got only 5 temps between Valkov and Messier in GT3, and then we've got 7 temps between Noski and Bischoff. Although the GT3 top 3 is very, very close with each other. And here we are, I think, with
teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
Okay, that was quite evident. Yeah, as you can see, the race package is now on. Slightly different. As you can see, there are the intervals, the energy, the pit. in which I don't think they have to have a mandatory pit stop, but nevertheless it is there. Then what else? I think that's about it. Always you will see the top 10, but if a driver is below the top 10, this is what happens. Simply the entire tower changes a bit, and you can then see up to 3 drivers in front and behind the driver being selected, and it just fits in the overlay. So that was I think I was much worried about. I think I can set the grid results. Let's go for try. From shop is already on, so I thought I had more time to let you see the grid. But now 13 drivers in hypercar class, then there is another 18 in GT3. I think few instants we will start with the hour-long race, with Noski being ahead of the entire pack in hypercar class, ahead of the other Valkyrie. Next to them, a BMW, 2 Cadillacs that effectively set a sort of sandwich, and it's green light, and away we go. It was a very nice start by the BMW driver. Warner already going into first place by the end of turn number 1, and the Valkyrie is kind of getting under pressure there as the second Cadillac goes on the outside of turn number 2 and overtakes. That was Henrik Gambal, with Paul Noski effectively losing 2 places since the start of the race. Oh, the car is into the grass. That was the Cadillac into the grass going for the move, and that's for first place in the standings, although there wasn't enough space for the Cadillac driver. Gambal will have to slow down, and nearly gets overtaken by the Aston Martin behind, as the other Valkyrie of Kobe-chan follows in 4th. Then we got Ulrich in 5th, with Bischoff in 6th place. I can see an overtake behind that. I suppose that's the BMW of Luca Mirai. Apologies, that's Matteo De Campo and Luca Mirai. Okay, yeah, Mirai is in the BMW as he loses the place there for a brief moment. Still, the entire grid remains the same in the hypercar lead. We've got Jonas Vanner, Henrik Gambal and Paul Noski completing your podium positions for now, although you can see Gambal very, very close to his rival ahead. He tries an outside move maybe, or maybe into the inside. He goes for the outside, although it's very, very difficult there. The Falcon livery BMW still in the lead, but the Valkyrie behind could put an attack on the 2 drivers up front. Remember, the Valkyrie is the only one that doesn't have hybrid, as you can see here. The Cadillac uses the hybrid power a tiny bit more on the outside. It tries into turn 1 and then into 2, into the first chicane. It's going to remain like this, although the Falcon livery, the BMW LMDH, oh, that was a bit of a loss of traction for Gambal, that goes on the outside once again. Can't really put the overtake forward, and top 3 remains as it is. In GT3, oh, there is an incident, and that is Kalkov going sideways and then crashing into another car. That was the Mercedes-Benz of probably Eder. I think it was Eder, and then that's Arbo, that unfortunately was sideways out of the chicane, and he loses every single position he had so far. So for now, it's going to be a 1-2 Lexus for Kalkov and Neitzel back in the lead in hypercar. Vanner, Gambal and Noski still the top 3. realistically we will have to wait a tiny bit to see whether an overtake happens or not. For one time, the qualifying grid was a bit more spread than expected, but the race is definitely on point. We've got so many battles at the moment. As you can see on the timing, on the upper left corner, still a long way to go, and there is still the very same script as earlier. The Cadillac tries again on the outside, but Vanner can't really put an assault on the leader. Apologies, Gumball can't really put an assault on the leader, which is Jonas Vanner. Although this time the Cadillac goes into the inside. Can he put it through? And there is contact between the two cars, and that's the Cadillac into the gravel, and Paul Noski effectively overtakes Henrik Gumball for second place. With Vanner that extends a tiny bit the lead. Meanwhile, behind, some more overtakes happen with Bachminer and the Campo battling for position number 10 in the standings, although the Cadillac remains ahead of the Proton livery with Matteo De Campo on the wheel. No, not so early, and that was a mistake by the Cadillac driver, and that sets De Campo up one position, 10th place for the 963 in the Proton livery. As you can see here, the situation remains quite stable, with the Valkyrie very, very close to the driver in front. Can Noski get back into the position where he started from? Kalkov, then Keitel, then Basia, then Zgitashvili, 4th place, and Sidruk in 5th. There's a good battle here in the back of the field, with Dan Sabo effectively in the middle of the sandwich of GT3 cars. Back in the hypercar field with the Cadillac that may try an assault, but once again into turn 2 it doesn't happen. Into the first chicane, which is Valente Tamburello. The name unfortunately gives bad memories, and that's another possible. Oh, there's a contact. Oh, the Valkyrie is off, and the Cadillac. Oh, major crash. Everyone is off. Into the gravel, Jonas Vanner sideways, and that's a calamity for everyone involved. All the top 3 is off. Disaster in hypercar class. Everyone is off. Kobe-chan is now the leader of the race. Nicolas Ulrich second, Cedar in third, Marco Bischoff in fourth, and Fabian Roth completes your top 5. It's a disaster. Complete disaster in the field. Let me just do a thing, because honestly I'm trying to get deafened. I'll put it on 50% for my own sake. Okay. Because it was impossible for me. I think I haven't saved it. I'm still very, very... Okay. I should work better. At least for me. I can mix it back on the main broadcast. So now Kobe-chan leads the race all of a sudden. Lucas Cedar is in second. Then we've got Nicolas Ulrich, Marco Bischoff competing in fourth, and then completing your top 5. It is Fabian Roth, just behind Bischoff, as Bischoff was trying an overtake on Ulrich for third. Let's see what happens in GT3. As you can see, Kalkov still remains ahead of his teammate with Nitzel in second. Basia has a huge gap already, 5 seconds nearly, between Nitzel and Basia, with Paul Noski that effectively is a DNF for tonight. The Mustang of Nashizashvili is in fourth. Sidruk is going for the overtake on Eder. No, it's the opposite. Eder goes for the overtake on Sidruk with a very, very heavy door thrown at the car that was in 5th. It was Mark Sidruk, and maybe trying for another overtake. It is going to be the very same driver that has just been overtaken, Joseph Kuffel in the Iron Dames livery, which bad news even for them in WEC, unfortunately. And then behind we've got Julian Schnell and Axel Ramune competing for 8th place. Then Fabrice Sassafasini and Adam Paul Raskoma for 10th. They are battling in the very same car. As for some reason Perdek is very much behind. Oh, that was a pit stop as he already gets lapped by the hypercar field. As you can see, 33 seconds in the pits. As there is a possible overtake there. That's Gamble going in front of Fischer. A lot of gravel for one of the BMW drivers. That was Nicolas Ulrich behind Bischoff in the other Cadillac. As you can see, 70% for Chan, 71% for Chan, 67 only for Cedar, with a 68-69 for Bischoff and Ulrich. Effectively, Chan is the one that is saving the most energy. And the problem is that realistically we've got to also... Oh, that's a Cadillac off! Oh, that's Roth off into the Variante Alta, losing 1 place, 2 places. And maybe that's about it, although Patrick Beckmeiser is very much behind and looking for trouble. Maybe not. Oh, that's a bit of a lock up for Fischer. Matter of fact, he goes a bit wide. And so that's also Wanner that went in the pits to repair the car. A minute in the pits for Wanner in the last lap. And unfortunately is in the middle of the GT3 pack competing for position. And it's going to be a very difficult run for the car in 12th place. Chan at this point is on a race of his own for a bit of odd reasons, but yes, he is. And that was an overtake for Gumball in front of Ulrich, as Ulrich is still trying to defend on the outside. It's a bit difficult. As a matter of fact, that's the car number 4 that slots itself into 4th. That was the rear end slipping off and nearly throwing the car into the wall or the grass in the best case scenario. But now Gumball is at least back in 4th basically at the edge of the podium. And behind it was the Porsche going a bit wide. That was Fischer. Fischer is a bit, I would like to say, a bit nervous on the wheel. It seems like the car is not really stable at the moment as Sassavizny goes into 9th place. It was the overtake for Sassavizny on Schnell, but this may be far from over. With Sassavizny that tries on the outside into Tamburello. There is a contact. Oh, there is a Lexus is off and Schnell is off into not the gravel, but he loses 2 places, and that's also the Mercedes in front. That was Arbois. No, that was, sorry, it was Rax Coma that lost the place on Arbois, as Gumball also overtakes his teammate by nearly going into the gravel, and the rear end is not really there for Gumball. Matter of fact, he loses it once again, and that's his teammate going back in 3rd. Marco Bischoff jumps back in front of him. The 2 teammates are not really cooperating for position, and you can see that Gumball throwing the car, and that's also Bischoff nearly losing the position on the BMW behind. But Nicolas Ulrich remains steadily in 5th. But also Fischer is now a good danger to Ulrich's momentum. overall, apart from the demolition derby that happened at the very front of the field, overall the race has been quite clean. If you don't count the top 3 effectively erasing itself. And oh, that was a BMW very much cutting the chicane, la variante alta, and as such going a bit slow in exit, and 963 behind as Fischer that may attempt an overtake, which doesn't happen. And for now the situation remains the same. Oh, that was Lexus off. That was Marine Bessier that went on the gravel. Someone was really lagging or having a lot of issues. And Skitchfield behind is just barely in front of the Lexus of Noah Eder, battling for 4th place. As Fischer goes into the gravel, the 963 is into the wall, into Tamburello for a brief moment, and then goes back into the gravel, but that's a mess, because there are a lot of cars overtaking each other. That was Mirai colliding, and also going door to door with the BMW. Oh, apologies, it was... Oh, that's a BMW off into the wall! I think that was Hugh Winters. It was Hugh Winters going into the wall in the BMW. And Luca Mirai, I apologize, but Luca Mirai was the one losing the position on the Cadillac. And battling for position with Casciaro. So now Beckmeyer is in 7th and Mirai is in 8th, with Casciaro very much interested in the position. This is what happens in the multi-class racing. All of a sudden, there is a lot more on track than expected. And I should add one thing, because I just noticed that it could be very important to put it right now in the standings, which is this one here. Okay, it's completely useless. I thought it's for another thing. Casciaro overtakes Mirai that goes into the pits, that's why. So Mirai is the first car that goes into the pits in the hour-long race, with still half a tank of energy present, so maybe jumps the gun a bit. And Fischer trying to... Oh, that's Fischer going into the gas once again! Going nearly sideways to avoid the M4 in the middle of the way. As the Campo goes for an overtake on the Lexus for I think that's apologies, that's couldn't see which position it was. Oh, here it is. It was Rax Coma in 11th place in class. But back on the battle for position. Never mind what I said, because Fischer is into the wall, crashing hard into the wall, going in the middle of... Oh, there is also another incident. That was the Lexus that unfortunately couldn't really avoid. And there is a wheel spinning off in the distance. That was Julian Schnell that unfortunately collided with the Porsche 963, and that's Schnell retiring from the race. That's a DNF for him. Disaster in GT3, another one with Florian Himmel that doesn't really seem completely okay. The car is obviously damaged with probable with the incident with Schnell, who unfortunately will not be able to complete the race. I don't think Inchausi was involved in the incident. Okay, maybe never mind, because he goes into the pits, so this begs the question of whether or not he was involved in the incident with the Lexus. But nevertheless, Florian Himmel jumps a place, and that was obviously Fischer also going into the pits for the incident that just happened. Kobe-chan, this has been quite an eventful chain of events, and that's Henrik Gamble maybe going back to 2nd place after the incident that happened in the Variante Villeneuve earlier on. as Gumball goes for the cutback on the outside of the Acqua Minerali. Can he make it through? It's very difficult. On the curb he goes. There is no space for two different cars, although the two Cadillacs still manage to set a fight. But nevertheless, it's going to be Cedar winning this head-to-head, and Gumball has to... You can see the rear is not really there, so I suppose there is going to be some damage repair for the car now in third. Noski in... Okay, no, it's still DNF. So, Inkowski, long on the pit, so I'm really thinking at this point that he was actually the car involved in the incident with the Lexus earlier. And that's obviously a DNF for Fisher. The car was in unraceable conditions, and that's another DNF for us, so it's 3 cars that already set DNF for tonight. Minai's pit stop was 50 seconds long, so nothing to report there. Normal pit stop, nothing too much to say. Probably some repairs done in the meantime, but nothing too serious, as Cedar tries something very, very difficult and unseen prior to this day. An overtake on the outside of Tosa, and it goes through momentarily, but they go into Piratella. And that was a very high-pitched voice. Into Piratella, and for another time, it is going to be Cedar. It has to defend, as Gumball can't really put forward the overtake. Situation in GT3 is pretty much the same, as Kalkov and Kinzel are still 1-2. Bessia in a lane of his own. Then Noah Eder, David Naskitashvili, closely followed by Mark Sidoruk and Josef Küffel, with Ramune, Sasafeisni and Arbois completing your top 10. And all of a sudden, Kobe-chan becomes a valuable target. Because as you can see here, both Cedar and Gumball managed to cut back the 4 seconds they had. Although you can see Cedar is really using the car compared to Chan, who still has a 34% energy. So it's quite clear that Chan's strategy is to go very long compared to his rivals, both on the Cadillac. And the Bishop still following, but also a bit behind. The darkness appears, and the headlights are on. Track is colder, and the conditions are changing. And also now we have a battle for the lead. Oh, that was a very nervous car for both Cedar and Gumball, with Chan that at this point has to either sacrifice some of the energy or to lose the position, so effectively to sacrifice his first place. It all comes down to the strategy that the driver from Hong Kong has put in place, but for now it remains like this. Oh, that's actually a lot of dust. That's a lot of rain. Yeah, I haven't mentioned that track is rainy, but not sure why the rain is not there. So I'm a bit confused at the moment. Anyway, Cedar on the outside he goes, but he can't really make a move there. He goes for a different strategy outside Tamburello. Once again, Cedar manages to defend well against Gumball. But still not over. Some more door-to-door action between Gumball and Cedar, with Gumball that manages to stay in 3rd, but not to overtake for 2nd place. It's quite clear that the rain is starting to become a bit of an issue for the drivers. It was drizzling since the very start of it, but at the same time it's also quite clear that things are changing as Ramone goes for the overtake on the Lexus of Sidruk, who lost also the position on Kufel. As Sidruk was trying to answer but couldn't make it through. So for now, Axel Ramone remains in position number 6 with Mark Sidruk following in 7th. And I just switched view, and that was Kifel going for the move on Askidashvili, who tries to answer now, as also Ulrich goes 2 places down for a possible mistake, I get, mainly because both Roth and Bachmeier are a good second ahead already. With a rain that is definitely picking up the pace. Sirashvili loses another place, this time on Axel Ramone, who quite clearly maintained well the wet tires, as now the Ford Mustang is in 6th place with Sidruk following behind. As Alex Silva goes into the pits. Lap ahead, the situation still says Chance, Cedar and Gumball. It didn't change, and I don't think it will change in this lap either. Pesciaro on the other side of the straight may actually be able to throw the car, enter inside, into turn 1. Oh, there is a lockup. Oh, there is an incident actually. Both cars are into the gravel. Disaster for both Pesciaro and Ulrich, with Ulrich that lost some terrain to the car in front. But Pesciaro is now in direct challenge with Matteo De Campo. But these two are still one after the other. At the same time, you can see Kufel and Ramone both going into the pits. And there's also the switch for position in the lead. No, there isn't. Kolkov is still leading in front of Nitzel. Ooh. And here actually is the switch, with Kolkov that goes into 2nd, with Nitzel up front. Possible team order, as Cedar is now in the pits. Same goes for Bischoff behind. Normal stop for everybody involved, very likely. Although Kufel is already back on the wheels. It was a bit of a lengthy stop. Already 67, 68, 69, 70 seconds on the timing clock is 1 minute and 15. 2 seconds slower than Ramune. Matter of fact, now Ramune is ahead of the Porsche driver with a way better pit stop. 2 seconds gained, and the position also for Axel Ramune in the Hoplite Esports livery. As Kiffel is just behind. Savo comes out of the pits, and everyone else is then behind. Nasgidashvili still ahead of Sidoruk, but they still have to pit. As speaking of pitting, that's your leader in GT3. I have an idea why they... actually, it was better to stay as they were. Probably they were thinking about it, but... a couple of seconds lost for Nitzel, as they had to set the car properly. With the Valkyrie that goes into the gravel. And that's the switch in the lead. That's Aaron Gamble going for the lead. In hypercar class and into the pits already. So it was a quick lead change. But as I said, everyone is now going as we are into the halfway mark. I can't see anything odd in the stops. It was a minute and 14 for Cedar, a minute 14 for Bischoff. Valkov ready out. And Kalkov's time was a minute and 15 with Nitzel actually minute 14. So ultimately it was even quicker. And Bessier, it was a minute and 27. As Axel Ramone jumps the Lexus driver. So that's another place gained for Axel Ramone. All of a sudden, Ramone finds himself in technically third as one of the BV M4s gets lapped in its own class. So now Bessier lost the place, and that's 6th place on track, but realistically this is going to be 4th as the pit stop phase will come to an end. In hypercar class, I can't really see something very odd. Apart from Gumball, which I said it earlier, he had to remain stationary a bit more than the rest of the field to repair the car, and he did so. He lost 15 seconds or so compared to the others, so he is back behind Beckmeyer. A lot of ground to make for him. Bischoff is in 7th, Cedar in 6th, Mirai in 5th, with De Campo, Cacharo, Rolf and Chan now in the pits, but I think these 4 cars will pit in literally now. Okay, it was quite easy to see as Bessier goes for a bit of a difficult move, considering that was on the grass on the chicane. So Ramone goes back and slots himself ahead of Bessier. You can see the gap is 12 seconds between Volkov and Ramone, as Nasgidashvili is now battling for position with the Lexus behind. Sidoruk seconds really count, and in this case it was not even seconds, it was centimeters between Sidoruk and Nasgidashvili. So Nitzel back in the lead. Kolkov follows his teammate Bessier, still battling with Ramone with Kiffel in 5th. Pit out. At the moment, Luca Mirai is leading the race. He may actually be able to complete the race, but he is very, very close on fuel. Maybe a bit too close. Kobe-chan is a good 6 seconds behind. And Cedar follows in 3rd with Bischoff 4th place, and Bachmeier 5th place just in front of... Oh, never mind. Bachmeier is into the gravel. Bachmeier into the gravel at the first chicane. So ultimately, this could be Fabian Rolf that cuts some gap, but maybe not too early, as Gamble goes for another move on the fellow Cadillac driver, and that's a 6th place for Gamble. Apparently that led to me missing the overtake between Bessier and Ramone. So Bessier is now back in the podium position in the Lexus. Number 91. As Mattia De Campo pitted, but not put fuel in the car. So very likely a mistake in the pit entry. That was maybe a contact between Bachmeier and one of the Mercedeses. And also into the gravel he goes. So the 66 huge dive into the gravel and back on the track. That's Eric Gambal extremely close to them. Fabian Roth was behind this pack of cars, of which one was, I think it was, yeah, it was the pack in 8th place, Satavisny, Arbois and Silva. I think the Campo, okay, the Campo was just a visual glitch. He put fuel in the car. Nothing to worry about. And something clearly happened to Ramone, because Ramone is a DNF. All of a sudden, Ramone is a DNF for the Opel Ice Esports. Not sure what happened there. But maybe that's why he lost the place in the first place. Probably an issue. And ultimately that led to the DNF for Ramone. Bachmeier very close to Gambal, but not enough, and so Gambal will be able to fly away from his rival. And here it is Clement Arbois and Fabrice Sassafisny battling for position number 8 in class. I'm very, very interested in what Mirai will be able to put forward, as there is the overtake into turn number 2 into the chicane. Although the Lexus goes a bit off the track to cut a bit of the second section, but ultimately Arbois will be able to remain ahead, and Sassafisny losing the place. And Arbois gaining 1, so that's Arbois in 8th, with the ENG following in 9th now. Marco Bischoff now meters away from Lucas Cedar. This will be for 3rd place, although with a little asterisk considering a possible final pit stop for Luca Mirai, that clearly tried something different from the whole class, but he still has 22 minutes to go. And only 28%, so he has to use just a fraction more than 1% per lap to complete the stint, and I doubt he'll be able to do so. But for now he remains in the lead. For now he is the leader of the race, so nothing can be said about it. effectively only half a second between both Cedar and Bischoff. Both of them are on the same car, the Cadillac. Oh, that was a bit too wide for Cedar, nearly out of track completely. And Bischoff now has a great chance to put himself in 3rd place and into the podium. And matter of fact, it is the case. No, it isn't actually. It actually isn't. There was clearly an opportunity, but it wasn't wide enough. And so now Bischoff is still behind Cedar. Without an opportunity for Marco Bischoff to set himself ahead of his rival. But most importantly, have you seen what is going on behind? Yes, it is Henrik Gambal, that even after what happened earlier, he's still in the game. I'm not really sure why Kobe-chan is really saving. As you can see, he's one of the cars that has the most energy, and in an earlier stint he was the car that had the most energy at all. Probably a very conservative run in the first stint, very likely, considering that now the gap is 8.8 seconds. The last lap was a 42.5 for Chan, as the rain, as you can see, stopped. The cars are still on wet tires, considering the track is still damp. Cedar and yeah, you can see Chan's last lap 42.5, Cedar's last lap 43.7, and Bischoff's 43.4. So it's not really going their way. And now Gambal, last lap, it was a 40.8 out of the planet for Gambal. Definitely understanding how the car works and how the weather helps. As you can see, the dry line has been formed. So slowly these tires may become very brittle. And Bischoff set himself aside to let his teammate pass by. And now Cedar's issue is way quicker. It was another 40.8 for Gambal. In comparison, last lap for Kobe-chan, it was a 42.0. So those 8.7 seconds may become a thing of the past if Gambal keeps on going. Speaking of which, that's Gambal entered inside. He goes at the hairpin. And it was a very quick overtake. Very likely that's also Cedar understanding that defending is useful, but ultimately not his target. His target is clearly Bischoff behind him. He can race with him. And Arbois is only meters away from taking another place. And that's Arbois in front of Sabo into the first chicane, into the Tamburello. I thought it was a 52.5. Sabo follows. Naskitashvili now, after the fight with Sidruk earlier on during the race, it's quite clear that the fight has shifted towards another objective. Naskitashvili could become 4th, as Luca Mirai couldn't make it to the end, and so that's another pit stop for Luca Mirai. Unfortunately, the BMW driver lost every single position, but Ulrichs won. Never mind, as everyone else is DNF. Clemens Nitzel clearly having a way better race compared to his teammate. Kharkov lost 2 seconds in these conditions compared to the dry conditions from earlier on. The track is getting better. I'm not really sure why the rain simply didn't appear on my screen. Even if it was there. And the only way to understand it was there, it was because of wipers being set on by the drivers. Q-fuel line was a bit dirty there. And also, look at the energy. Q-fuel is really using the car. Or maybe it was just a very quick pit stop, try to gain something. And now, less than 50% in the energy. It's not really an issue, very likely. I'm thinking about it. 15 minutes, another 16. Okay, maybe it is a bit close for Q-fuel. Everyone else should be okay. But it might be close for Q-fuel. That's for certain. Winters is also back in the pits, but very likely it was also because of the very same reason as Luca Mirai, so not enough fuel in the car. Also, a little add on the situation in LMDH/LMH. Cedar effectively lost a place on Bischoff. Trying to keep up with this whole field is starting to become very difficult. I'll be completely honest. I missed a lot of action this time. And for the next round I will try to pay more attention to a couple of key things that help me into understanding who is where different times. I still have to get used to the fact that it is a completely different HUD even for me. So again, apologize for this very first race, even for me. And that's Casciaro also losing the position on the campo at the Rivazza for position number 7. And Mattia De Campo overtakes Casciaro. Next target is 2 seconds up front, which is Fabian Roth, as Patrick McMyer is also in the battle there. For now, we'll stay with this one here. Last lap it was a 54.0 per Küffel. And for Naskitashvili, it was a 53.5. Although one of the BMW is now in the middle, the number 83, which is currently in 16th place, a bit in the middle of the way, and that really didn't help Naskitashvili for the battle with Küffel in the lead. Something may change right now. As you can see, Kobe-chan, last lap it was a 41.0, then we go into Gumball's last lap, and it was an abysmal destruction of every single limit. 39.6. Gumball definitely on another level. At the same time, there is also the overtake between Sasavisny and Sabo. On the outside, he tries. That's the wetter line for a brief moment, as now he's back on the driest one. Although turn number 1 was this one here. Turn number 2 is left hand side. As also Cedar gained back the position on Bischoff. But still, that's why Bischoff is into the pits. Very odd. Probably trying a different approach. Maybe dry tires for Bischoff that goes into the pits. But nevertheless, this was the battle for position number 8 in LMGT3 with Fabrice Sasavisny that managed to maintain himself in front of the Lexus driver. And also behind, you can see a Lexus and a Cadillac, and that's the very same battle we were following earlier on. And I'm very, very surprised by Bishop's pit stop. I'm not sure why it happened. Unless it's a gamble on dry tires, which I could see if it doesn't rain anymore. But it's a very big gamble. For now, Chan remains in the lead of the race. And puts himself in a difficult situation. Maybe also tries to play mind games with the field and with his rival behind. Trying to cut across in a bit of an unpredictable manner. So Gumball can't really follow the Aston Martin. But the Valkyrie stays ahead. But yeah, Bishop's idea either has to work perfectly and has to be the best idea that has been conceived, or it was clearly because of something else that I didn't see or understand at all, which is likely. I know myself. I'm not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. The shell, okay. Congratulations, I just ruined everything. The sharpest tool in the shed. .2 in the last lap for Chan, and it wasn't a lap for Gumball. So realistically, that's an off track that has been counted on his name. There's a little bit of a gap between Chan and Gumball, so let's... okay, just quite quick. To jump into Naskivishvili's battle for fourth. Unfortunately, the Mustang was just behind the Cadillac on the approach on the Variante Alta. And ultimately, it didn't really help the whole situation for him. Another pit for Bachmeier. So even for him, it's a second pit stop. There is a car stopped on track. That's Andre Alex Silva. That was stated as stopped, but clearly isn't. So maybe it was a glitch. But regardless, the situation remains tense here for the lead, with only 8 minutes to go. Many of the battles already went through. Only a handful of them still remain to be discussed. One of which is the battle for the lead in hypercar class. Both the Valkyrie and the Cadillac going through a third chicane. It was a very good run for Gumball compared to Chan, that already goes into defensive for the Variante Villeneuve. But ultimately, it doesn't get through. And Gumball is for now still following Chan in every single turn. But so far, still no overtake for Gumball, who could be able to clinch in his comeback run from effectively the back of the field after the incident in 2001 that took out both Noski and Vanner with him. The two other effectively never completed the following lap, with Gumball that still kept on going, although you can see some of the GT3 cars are pretty thin on the energy, and also Gumball may be a bit thin on the very same matter. 21% against 25%, with only 6 minutes or so to go. As Roth overtakes Cedar. I'm pretty sure that was a team order, considering where it happened and when it happened. Another pit stop for Sasavisny and Sabo. Which effectively will promote Raskoma, Hamel and Eder a position up front. Never mind, because also them are pitting. Yeah, but still unable to get in front of Chan. All of a sudden the Valkyrie is showing great pace and not really letting Gumball get close. Although Chan probably quicker on single laps, but not so much overall. 39.5 against 49.5. Very same lap for the two cars. With Gumball that is yearning for the wet patch. Let's go Chan into the gravel, and that's the overtake for position number 1. On the outside he tries, that's Eric Gumball. That could never go through at the very first moment, but then a bit of force and also a bit of a physical interaction there, but ultimately Gumball managed to get ahead of his rival, and same goes between Cedar and De Campo, with Cedar that is in huge difficulty compared to De Campo that all of a sudden is going for position number 4. No, he couldn't. He goes into the gravel, being pushed by Lucas Cedar, that effectively is acting as a shield to his teammate Fabian Rolf in 3rd place. But also behind, Cacharo could become an important asset for Cedar, although both of the cars are into the sideline. Oh, there's a contact between Cedar and De Campo, with De Campo that lost some ground compared to Cacharo that had a quite clean line out of the Variante Alta. In the meantime, there is also the overtake between Arbois and Naskitashvili. I think there was an attempt, didn't go through because the Lexus is still ahead of the Mercedes driver. And here we are with a pit also for Kalkhoff and Eder. There may be a contact between the two. No, there isn't one. And with only 2 minutes to go, we are very close to the white flag. But very aggressive lines for both De Campo and Cedar. We see that he's trying whatever is possible to remain where he is. De Campo trying an overtake in an impossible place, in an impossible way, with Cedar was already camping into the inside line. At the same time, also, Arbois loses the position on both Nasridashvili and Sidoruk. No, he doesn't. Actually goes extremely long on turn number 2, and by the chicane, he's back in front of Nasridashvili. That is for the podium in LMGT3 with the Lexus going into the gravel. That's Mark Sidoruk losing some ground. Back here for 4th place, Lucas Cedar still defending his ground against Mattia De Campo that tries this time on the outside. No move available there, cutting the chicane a tiny bit more than his opponent. There is more contact between the two, and the Proton livery, the Porsche 963 is, well, was ahead for a brief moment of Cedar, but Cedar goes back in front of both De Campo and Casciaro, with De Campo that maybe throws the car into the inside. No, it doesn't, but actually that's led to a very awful line for Cedar on exit. This could put De Campo back on the action as Bishop goes into 8th place, overtaking Bachmeier for 8th place, and De Campo goes on the offensive once again, but this time he is on inside. He has the better run, he has the better line, and moreover Cedar loses not only 1 but 2 places. That's also Simone Alessandro Casciaro overtaking Lucas Cedar for 5th place, with Cedar that couldn't really outperform the other 2 drivers. Ultimately that led to De Campo actually gaining a second or so to the car behind. Meanwhile here, Arbois managed to create a gap to the cars behind. That was the Mustang. David Nasridashvili going all in on the inside line. Sidruk following Kalkov that just came out of the pits earlier on. And with only 0 seconds to go, this could be Gamble managing to win the race in Imola. Last 2 corners for Eric Gamble that managed to come back from 10th from an incident while he was in the pack battling for the very first place to be the winner of the 2nd round of the Le Mans Ultimate Championship in LFM, in the Le Mans Ultimate Nitro Concept Pro Season 0.5, as Kobe-chan completed the race in 2nd with literally 0% on the car. Then we got Fabio Roff completing the podium, 3rd place for him. Mattia De Campo, 4th place. And then Casciaro completes in 5th. Marine Bessier will be able to get home with a win. Fabio Roff, then Casciaro, Cedar Ulrich, Bischoff completing in 8th. Just ahead of Bachmeier. As Marine Bessier still has to get to the finish line. And ultimately it will be Marine Bessier winning in GT3. I'm still a bit confused to why a good chunk of the drivers went on for a 2nd pit stop. But effectively Marine Bessier wins the race with Kitzel. Nasridashvili completed the podium, Sidoruk in 4th, Kalkov in 5th, Arbois in 6th, with Kufel in 7th, Sabo in 8th, Savarizny in 9th, and Rax Koma in 10th place. But ultimately that's the race for tonight in the Mans Ultimate Nitro Concept Pro Season 0.5. And effectively we are just waiting for everyone to go back into the pits. with a Cadillac that literally goes into the pits. And Marine Bessier wins in GT3 with Gumball winning in Hypercar class. I'm just waiting for the results to be updated. Well, ultimately, it was a beautiful race that got a bit sparkled up by the sudden rain that came at the very center part of the race. Don't think the results are already on, quite obviously. But at the same time, I also want to check a thing. But yeah, unfortunately, until the session doesn't... Okay, in the meantime, I think this will be easier. No, never mind. Okay. I guess not. This means that maybe the results are on. It is the case, in fact. Instantaneous. Marine Bessier, ahead of Clemens Nitzel and David Nasgidashvili, completed the podium with Mark Sidurk and Valentin Khalkov, and everyone else lapped with Clement Arbeau, Joseph Kufel, Sander Sabo. I'll be completely honest, I haven't understood why some drivers went on for 2 pits and some didn't. The energy was there, and I kinda missed the reason for that. Especially because Khalkov and Netzel were 1-2, and one lap later they weren't anymore. So either I missed something big, but it was all at the very last laps, and I'm really confused to that. Because energy was there. All of a sudden, certain cars went into the pits. I will obviously check later the reason for that. Harry Gumball wins in front of Kobe Chan and Fabian Roff in Hypercar class with Mattia Campo and Simone Alessandro Casciaro completing your top 5. Unfortunately, the number is still 0. But also the deliveries and the in-game numbers weren't really working, so this is probably on LMU. But this is your 13 drivers full results, with unfortunately Noski and Warner that didn't complete the race. These are the standings. That's also the old one. Okay, these are the standings at the moment. If they can get a refresher. Okay, the standings still have to be updated. They will certainly be visible next week, where we will head into Portimao for our next race, the round number 3 of the LMU Nitro Concepts Pro Season. Okay, no, apparently the results don't want to be updated. So ultimately, this is the final table for tonight's race in Hypercar. 13 drivers that competed in 35 laps. And this is the one for the GT3 category. With Bessier, Neitzel and Asghilashvili completing the podium, 32 laps for them. I just want to try one more time the standings, otherwise we will go with the final salutations. Okay, it doesn't work. Maybe because I haven't refreshed. No, never mind. So, reminder, this is the calendar. Portimao is going to be on the 16th with Monza, Silverstone and Le Mans completing the championship. Very tiny calendar, but obviously there is a reason for that. This is the season 0.5, so it's also a bit of a test to understand how everything works. These are the prices for the podium sitters in both classes. Trustmaster offers a €500 voucher for their website. Legend Gaming chair from Noble Chairs with a silver edition Legend Gaming chair. For whoever arrives in second and for the final place in the podium, there is an immersion win bundle from Nitro Concepts, who is also the proud title partner of the season. But in the meantime, I hope you had a wonderful evening. It was a very nice race, this one here, full of, well, everything, to be fair. I was Cristiano Romano, this was Imola, and good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and see you next time. Bye!